Welcome to State of Affairs Today. We take you deep inside a shocking political storm shaking the foundations of Zimbabwe's ruling elite. A secret dossier, allegedly prepared by Vice President Constantino Chiwenga, has surfaced, accusing President Emerson Mnangagwa and his closest allies of running what Chiwenga describes as a criminal cartel controlling the state. This is the story of power, corruption, betrayal, and the dangerous battle for Zimbabwe's future. The dossier, insiders say, is not just an ordinary document. It is a political bombshell, a collection of evidence, testimonies, and financial trails that reveal how Zimbabwe's wealth has allegedly been captured by a small group of men at the heart of government. It is said that Chiwenga presented this dossier in a tense Politburo meeting, confronting Mnangagwa in front of top party officials. The atmosphere, according to those present, was electric, silent, and charged with fear. No one dared to interrupt the vice president as he spoke. He accused Mnangagwa's associates of looting national resources, manipulating tenders, and using public funds to strengthen their political influence. The names mentioned in the dossier were familiar to every Zimbabwean: Kutakwashe Tagwiri, Wicknell Chivayo, Delish Ngwaya, and Scott Sakupwanya, men often linked to sudden wealth, state contracts, and lavish lifestyles. The dossier allegedly labels this group zvaendwa, meaning the untouchables, men who have captured not only the economy, but the very soul of Zimbabwe's ruling party. To understand the significance of this dossier, we must go back to the beginning. After Robert Mugabe's fall in 2017, Chiwenga and Mnangagwa worked side by side to take control of the country. It was Chiwenga, the former army commander, who led the military operation that paved the way for Mnangagwa's rise to power. At that time, they were allies, united by a common goal. But as years passed, differences grew and trust disappeared. The once powerful comrades became rivals, silently competing for control over ZANU-PF and the state itself. In his dossier, Chiwenga claims that Mnangagwa's close allies have been using state institutions as personal banks. They win tenders without competition, import fuel without taxes, and control mining rights through shell companies. The dossier alleges that billions of US dollars have vanished, money meant for hospitals, schools, and roads. Instead, it was used to buy fleets of luxury cars, fund ZANU-PF campaigns, and build private mansions for the elite. At the center of these allegations stands businessman Kutakwashe Tagwiri. For years, Tagwiri has been accused of being the financial engine behind the ruling party. He built a business empire stretching from fuel to mining, agriculture, and banking. Western countries have already sanctioned him for alleged corruption and state capture. According to the dossier, Tagwiri used his companies to control state projects, and through them, to buy political loyalty across the nation. Vice President Chiwenga reportedly questioned why, at a time when the nation was suffering from inflation and poverty, Tagwiri was donating over $21 million worth of vehicles to ZANU-PF. He asked, where did the money come from? Who authorized it? And why is one man allowed to act as if he owns the party? These questions, insiders say, left Mnangagwa's camp speechless. Then comes Wicknell Chivayo, another controversial figure. Known for his flashy lifestyle and connections to the highest offices, Chivayo is accused of being a key operator in the cartel's network. The dossier links him to inflated contracts in the energy sector, deals that brought in millions but delivered little. It also claims Chivayo uses gifts, money, and luxury cars to buy loyalty from politicians and celebrities, securing his influence within the ruling establishment. Delish Ngwaya, a businessman linked to the Pomona Waste Project, and gold dealer Scott Sakupwanya are also named as members of this alleged cartel. According to Chiwenga's document, these men form a tight circle, laundering money, funding political campaigns, and controlling strategic economic sectors, all under the protection of the president's office. When Chiwenga presented the dossier, reports say that Mnangagwa's reaction was one of visible anger. The president allegedly accused the vice president of betrayal and destabilizing the party, but Chiwenga stood his ground, warning that ZANU-PF was losing its moral compass, and that if corruption continued unchecked, the people would rise against them. Witnesses claim the room fell silent. No one dared to take sides. Everyone knew the stakes were enormous. This confrontation marked the open beginning of a political war. Mnangagwa's allies quickly moved to defend the president, calling Chiwenga's accusations a power grab. Party spokespersons dismissed the dossier as propaganda designed to weaken the president's leadership ahead of the next election. They insisted that Mnangagwa is a constitutionalist who will not overstay his term and who remains committed to fighting corruption. But behind the public denials, the tension is real. Reliable sources confirm that the president immediately reshuffled the Politburo, sidelining several officials believed to be sympathetic to Chiwenga. A committee was set up to review the allegations, led by Obert Mpofu, Opa Muchinguri, and Patrick Chinamasa, figures considered loyal to Mnangagwa. Their task, to contain the political damage and neutralize the vice president's offensive. As this political chess game unfolds, Zimbabweans are watching closely. For many, the dossier confirms what they have long suspected, that corruption in the upper echelons of power is not isolated but systematic. It is not about one man, but an entire structure that has captured the state. Yet others see the dossier as part of a larger succession battle, a struggle over who will lead Zimbabwe after Mnangagwa, who is nearing the end of his term limit. The vice president's move has been interpreted by analysts as a clear signal of ambition. Chiwenga wants to assert himself as the natural successor, and by exposing Mnangagwa's network, he seeks to clear the path for his own rise. However, the risk is enormous. Taking on a sitting president in a system built on loyalty and fear can be dangerous. But Chiwenga, a former military commander, is no stranger to high-stakes battles. His message is clear. The era of silent corruption must end, or the party itself will collapse. The accusations have also divided public opinion. Supporters of Mnangagwa argue that Chiwenga is using anti-corruption language to disguise his political ambitions. They point to reports that Chiwenga himself has been accused of lavish spending and demands for luxury vehicles. Critics like Temba Mliswa claim that both sides are guilty, that Zimbabwe is witnessing a fight between two factions of the same corrupt system, rather than a genuine battle for reform. But the reality is that this dossier, regardless of its motives, has already changed Zimbabwean politics. It has exposed deep cracks within the ruling elite. It has turned whispers into headlines, and it has placed the issue of corruption at the center of national debate once again. The question now is, what happens next? Will there be arrests? Will investigations follow? Or will the dossier be buried quietly like many scandals before it? The people of Zimbabwe have heard many promises of change, but few have seen results. This time, though, the confrontation is not between government and opposition. It is within the ruling family itself. Political insiders believe the coming months could define the future of ZANU-PF. If Mnangagwa survives this storm, his control over the party will be absolute. But if Chiwenga gains enough support within the military and the Central Committee, the balance of power could shift dramatically. Some even whisper about the possibility of another political transition, a second correction within ZANU-PF itself. Meanwhile, international observers are closely watching developments. Investors are nervous. Civil servants are demoralized. The nation's economy remains fragile, and ordinary citizens continue to bear the cost of elite corruption. Inflation, unemployment, and hunger remain widespread, while billions disappear into private pockets. The Chiwenga dossier has brought to light the uncomfortable truth that Zimbabwe's leadership crisis is not just political, it is moral. It is about the values of accountability, integrity, and justice that have long been replaced by greed and self-preservation. It is a reminder that without transparency, no government can sustain legitimacy forever. As we close this investigation, one thing is certain: the battle lines have been drawn. On one side stands the president, holding on to power with the help of his business allies. On the other stands his vice president, wielding the truth as a weapon and perhaps his last chance at redemption. Both men are soldiers of the same revolution, now turned against each other in the final struggle for control. Zimbabwe now waits, uncertain, divided, and anxious. Will this dossier bring justice, or will it simply be another chapter in a long story of betrayal? Only time will tell. But as always, we at State of Affairs will continue to follow every development, uncover every truth, and ask the questions that matter, because in the end, this is more than a story about two powerful men. It is about the future of a nation, the hope of its people, and the fight to reclaim Zimbabwe from the hands of greed. Thank you for watching State of Affairs. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and stay with us as we continue to uncover the untold stories shaping Zimbabwe and Africa.